Hi all. I have been thinking about whether or not to say anything for quite a long time now. For those who know, I used to be a representative of Space International, which is survivors of prostitution abuse calling for enlightenment. And I was very proud to be a member with them right up until the October 7 and 8 in Israel and what happened, and the targeting of Jewish people globally as a result. At that point, I felt like there was anti-Semitic feeling underneath what was going on, and this most certainly does not represent any individual. I don't want anyone to take this as a thing that it's talking about a particular person. I'm not. I'm talking about myself and my own feelings about what was going on. I felt a very, very strong need to speak out because of what had happened in history, where Jews walked into the death camps, literally without a fight. And I believe that we have to speak. It's a duty to speak now. It's not something that can be put to the side or negotiated with any longer. When we see the global Jewish community targeted because of an excuse, which is a war on the other side of the world or in another region of the world, it is a president in another part of the world, a prime minister of another country. It is the devaluing of all people based upon one person or one idea, when one represents the whole, and the whole can be treated in a dehumanized fashion. We have a duty to speak up against it. And some people know this, some don't. I am half Jewish and a quarter Arab genetically. When I go into my genetics, genetic testing, that's what it came out as, and it mostly comes from my mother's side with a tiny sliver from my father's side. Let's get back to Space International. There was a person, maybe two or three, who had an issue with me speaking out for the Jewish people and called it anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim, anti-Arab. And I had to point out that in one part of my family history is Muslims. In one part of my family tree is Arabs. I'm not going to put down normal human beings because of their race or religion, their ethnicity or their religion. I will critique an ideology, and that's the extremist ideology, not the religious belief. I differentiate between Muslim religion and the extremist political Islam. And political Islam it goes beyond and is political, not religious. And I think that's an important differentiation. It's one that I haven't always found easy to articulate, but it's one that I understood before I found the words to articulate it to somebody else. And I can't stay silent, and I couldn't stay in space while speaking. So I left space because I find the destruction of an entire, or the want of destruction for an entire civilization egregious. I find the lack of honesty in dealing with this egregious, where people conflate these different understandings. They conflate peaceful Muslims with political Islam, with extremists. They conflate the Palestinian situation with Muslim situation, with it being a religious bigotry, to have an issue with the wars and the intifadas that have occurred thus far. And I believe that the dishonesty and the conflation of very different elements and understandings is part of anti-Semitism, whether it be conscious or unconscious. And if I want to be incredibly kind and understanding, I would say that it is unconscious bias that has caused this issue. That if the conscious mind were able to see the conflation and understand that in every other religion and every other ethnicity and every other race and every other country, they're able to differentiate, that the mind becomes muddied when the English word, Jews, is in front of them. I find that hard to deal with, but I also understand it, because subconscious bias it's beyond our conscious minds. That's the point of it being subconscious. But I really, really wish that the left predominantly and the far right would open their eyes to this unconscious bias and at least entertain the idea that it's possible. Because if you bother to entertain that idea and just ask a few questions, you can then unravel it for yourself. Whereas me, I could be, screaming from the rafters about this all day, every day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. And it will be blocked out as, well, probably insanity if I was to do it that way. But, as a metaphor, it's just going to be blocked as, a bunch of BS. So that was the decision I made, and I don't regret it. But my work in looking at decriminalisation and unravelling decriminalisation in the realm of prostitution and other areas of the sex trade is still important to me, and I still do it to a much smaller degree than I did a few years ago. And I do it in the measure of what is psychologically safe and healthy for me to do so. And I've got better boundaries around that now than I ever have in my entire life. And I feel really good about exercising those boundaries and saying, look, that's, doing too much is actually psychologically damaging for me. And going too much into detail is psychologically harmful for me. So I sit in the area where I'm safe and comfortable and I can contribute, but I can't make it my life anymore. And I hope this is an explanation that is not going to make you feel bad about space, because I don't feel bad about space. I actually am glad it exists. I want it to do well. I do not want the work undermined in any way, shape or form. And I just want to be clear about that. But I had to step into a space where I could operate from my own conscience and what I believe is the right thing to do. So I very much hope people understand. Thanks.